What I do think is that it's just really going to change the way that we operate. I mean, it's I think going to be very similar, like the way similar to the way that the internet made things a lot more mobile, right? People could now operate not in the office; they could operate at home, communicate, and still get things done. In the same way, I think AI is just going to be another thing that changes the way that people work. Perhaps it'll change jobs as well, um, but I don't think it's going to kill us.
Welcome to Next In, another episode of Next In. We're on fire. We're on a roll. These are coming out fast and furious. Please do us a favor, subscribe, download, do whatever else you do on social media. You thumbs up it or something. Even before you've listened, I promise you'll like this. So today we have an awesome guest with us. We have a head of talent. As you guys know, we do recruiting predominantly. We do recruiting in everything from tech space, healthcare, etc. Well, this is a good merger of the two. So, Shane, if you could bring on Peter. So we have Peter O, who is the head of talent for Verse Medical. Thank you for joining us, Peter. I'm going to let you do more of your introduction. Where are you right now located?
Yeah, so I'm actually in our office in Chelsea, Manhattan.
All right, so you're in New York.
That's right.
What's your weather like in New York?
It's actually gotten a lot cooler, so it doesn't feel like it's the jungle outside anymore. It's a little drier, a little cooler. It feels like fall.
All right, so we're hitting fall weather there in Chelsea, New York. Beautiful Chelsea, New York. So, Peter, why don't you give us a little bit currently, again, where you're at, head of talent. So basically, all the amazing people who want to go work at Verse Medical, they have to go through you. You're the one who kind of decides who gets to come and go. So you're the head of talent for Verse Medical. Give us a little background in your origin, even prior to that, how you've gotten to where you're at.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think you're giving me too much credit. Having the power to make those hiring decisions, that'd be incredible. Now, I think all that said, yeah, Verse Medical, I've actually not been here for too long yet. It's been about 3 months, but it's been a fantastic journey. Really, I think I can simplify and say it's about growth. Right now, we're kind of dealing with a space that is ripe for disruption. It's quite broken. I think it's quite antiquated. Apparently, fax machines are like a thing in the healthcare space, and so
they still use them. Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't realize.
Phone number, like who's sending faxes?
And on my end, my background is definitely more so in the tech industry. I guess we'll call that more pure tech. And so moving into the space, I didn't realize how fractured it was. But just understanding that we can use technology to actually bring things to the 21st century, bridge the gaps between hospital and patient care, and of course, make sure that we're bridging in the whole insurance side as well. Our goal is to make sure that people are healing the right way and hopefully doing so with the convenience of their home. So things have been fun. And on my end, I'm happy to share more, but just let me know.
Yeah, we'll get there in a second, but I would like to rewind a little bit, right? Which is like, head of talent today, which is awesome. But like, I can't imagine that, I don't know, high school you, middle school you, college you, I don't know. Could you have seen yourself being in the recruiting space, head of talent? Help me understand, like, where were you back in like high school and college? And what did you think that you were going to be when you were growing up compared to where you are now?
Yeah, funny enough, I thought I was going to be a priest. So
Head of talent, priest, it's similar, right?
Pretty much the same thing. I mean, priests are
recruiting
supposed to bring people to the
communities.
church. Yeah, exactly.
Different kinds of healthcare.
Exactly. We'll call it like spiritual care. But all that said, no, I grew up very, very religiously. Our family, very, very Catholic. And so high school through college, I mean, that was the plan. And I actually have a theology degree. But I think as I was going through college, realized that I don't really want to be a priest. I would eventually like to, expand and see what else is in the world and whatnot. So what else do you do with a theology degree but go into sales?
Yeah, going to recruiting, yeah.
Or recruiting. And so I was looking for a sales job and somehow fell into this, just like any other recruiter, I think. And honestly developed a love for it. I think the first placement that you make is such an amazing dopamine hit. And I think we chase that to perpetuity. But with that in mind, I think throughout I've just been kind of building and looking forward to doing that, whether it's being a priest or being a recruiter, being able to build these teams and see them stand the test of time has been fulfilling for sure.
What was like that first job out of college? You said you eventually, so you looked into sales, got into recruiting. Like, what did that look like?
He's asking some of this. Here's an interesting side note. Shane and I know each other through a program where in college we essentially ran a house painting business, right? Like that's our background. Different years, obviously. I'm much younger than Shane, as you can tell from my hair. So, but we know each other through that connection. Ironically, that's what was the original funding for Elon Musk. His brother did a house painting business in college, and Kimball Musk. And so he talks about that on some podcasts, that was like which is his launch into entrepreneurship and so on and so forth, right? So what were you doing when you were 22, 23, straight out of school? What was kind of your launch into where you're at now?
Yeah. So right out of school, I ended up meeting an alumnus. His name is Brian. I still thank him to this day. I was looking for a sales role, like I said before, and I just couldn't find anything. Then I met with Brian, and we're chatting, and he's like, "Hey, have you thought about recruiting?" And I'm like, "No, I don't really know what that is, but I'd love to learn more." And what he tells me is that it's the perfect pathway into sales. It's going to be a great thing for you. You're going to make a ton of money, and you're going to have a lot of fun while you're at it. So I ended up joining this agency called Aerotech, and was there for about a couple of years. And I think it was a really great learning experience. Built some fantastic foundations, learned the hustle. Granted, it was a little bit different than theology and priesthood, but I thought one that I wouldn't change for the world.
Yeah, in a big company, a lot of people do have that in their past early days of recruiting tech systems, Aerotech.
Yeah, I always love asking like fellow recruiters, like, how did they get into that? Because I don't think we've done over 50 podcasts, and I don't think I've ever even shared how I got into recruiting once. And I remember there's a joke in my family that I was like, quote unquote, homeless in Hawaii, kind of bumping around trying to figure out what I wanted to do next after I did an internship for Taylor a little over 10 years, 12 years. It's been a while. It's been a while. The dementia's kicking in. But like I was watching this movie called Friends with Benefits with Mila Kunis and Justin Timberlake. And Mila Kunis recruited Justin to leave his small little agency in LA to move to New York. And I was sitting there being like, somebody does that? Like I could totally do that. Start cold calling agencies in Seattle until somebody finally gave me a job. And I never thought I was going to get into recruiting. I always thought I was going to get into some form of sales, some sort of something. And same. It was like random opportunity. I don't know if I'm waiting for the one person that got into recruiting because they wanted to. And I'm going to classify those people as unicorns because I don't know if they exist.
So you mentioned
unicorn. It was crazy. So we're actually looking to hire a tech recruiter. And so I've been chatting with some really incredible folks. I met literally one person who went to school for HR and actually wanted to be a recruiter coming out of school. So they do exist, those unicorns.
Okay, fine. What do their parents do for a living? They come from a lineage of HR recruiting professionals. It's like my dad did recruiting. It's like, okay, got it. Like, I don't know if I classify that as unicorn. They were just.
You're right. Yeah, I think their parents, one of them had their own agency. So
you mentioned Brian was a mentor of yours. Do you have other role models and mentors in your path? And if so, how have they impacted you?
Yeah, there are a ton. I feel like without these role models and people that I looked up to, like I'm just not going to be in the place that I'm in today. Maybe one person that I can just really draw on is somebody who's quite close, my godfather. He was actually one of my best professional guides. Growing up, we grew up in very, I guess, in a Korean setting, meaning language-wise, we're speaking Korean. We're not speaking English in our household. My parents had no idea how American business works, how corporate life works. for them, it was all about, hey, be that doctor, be that lawyer, or bust. And
Mhm.
sorry, mom, sorry, dad.
You're recruiting them instead. You're just helping.
Right.
You're like, I'm helping get rid of the fax machine, dad. I'm getting rid of the fax machine, mom. Like none of the doctors could figure it out. So I'm helping build a team that does it. One day they'll
One day in
understand.
life. Exactly. And so we grew up that way. And so I just didn't really have a sense of what, American business life was like. And so growing up, I didn't have anybody to look to, but my godfather, he really leaned in and helped me understand and get a good sense of the landscape. He is an SVP of compliance and information technology at one of these bigger banks. And he gave me opportunities to really come in, shadow him, understand how he's interacting with other professionals. This gave me like the foundations that I have today, right? Giving me a sense of how to communicate well, how to present. But all that said, really be a human, genuine person at the workplace as well.
Yeah.
So that I have to say thank you to Paul quite a bit.
All right. So Paul and Brian, thank you. They're one of the 6, 7, 8 million people who are watching right now, I'm sure. So I'm sure they'll appreciate that. So tell us a little bit more about Verse Medical and very specifically, what challenges you guys are tackling in the healthcare space.
Yeah. So the TLDR, what we're doing today, sounds very simple. We're ensuring that medical equipment that patients need to heal in the home are getting to them on time and at affordable costs, and they're doing well. Now, the long-term vision for us is to ensure that home care is as quality as in a hospital and as affordable as possible. The problem that we see today is that, again, healthcare is so fractured. When you're talking about getting, I don't know, an oxygen tank after surgery, I've heard horror stories of people having to wait 2 months to get an oxygen tank. That is absolutely insane. Or taking 3 to 4 months to get reimbursed for it by insurance. And so for us, what we're looking to do is, one, ensure that our patients are getting the equipment. So we partner with these hospitals, with these doctors' offices. We actually have a platform that they can put their orders through. And then from there, we fulfill those orders. Now, when I was learning about this business, I was like, well, then how do you make money? Are you like charging the hospitals? Are you charging the patients? And what I actually learned is that we're filing these claims for our patients and charging a premium there. And so
Got it.
that's how we monetize. And so for me, I always look for something that is a bit more mission driven, a bit more mission aligned. And when I heard that, I thought that, wow, Verse Medical is really putting the money where its mouth is, literally. And I was really impressed. Now, the way that our business is being built today and the people who are building it, that is truly the baseline. Like
Yeah,
people really care. There are missionaries, and we're hoping to build something great.
that's awesome. And so Verse raised a bunch of money in 2023, but you guys have been growing a pretty significant amount after that. And where do you see it headed? Are you guys in the process of continuing to boom and grow? Is it expanding, etc.?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, wow. Well, we
All right,
did raise a couple years.
sensitive topics. I put you in a corner.
Yeah, growth is the name of the game right now. So thankfully, we're at that point of scale. We have strong product market fit, and it's about making sure that it gets out there. So would not be surprised if we're doubling the company size in the next year or so.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
So when you think about doubling the size of your team, right? And when you think about growth, and obviously you're uniquely positioned in your role at Verse Medical to be somebody that's helping with that particular challenge. Like if I were an engineer and I was going to try to interview with your team and you were to give me like the keys to the kingdom and say like, this is what we need to see to be able to see success and for you to be able to pass our interviews and they could be a senior engineer, they could be an entry level dev. Like, what are the things that you're typically looking for that most people fail?
Yeah, great question. So I think if we're talking about engineers, the harder skills like coding, systems design, architectures, whatever it is, I think that can be learned, and a lot of folks are very bright and they do a great job with it. I think the certain things that we really look for are, one, mission drivenness. Are you truly a missionary who wants to align and do something bigger, make an impact, leave a legacy? I think the other thing too that I noticed when I first talked to Daibot, our CEO, are actually three things that I see as a baseline for our culture and values. One is a sense of low ego and high humility. Truly, everybody here is super humble. Honestly, some of the smartest people I've worked with, and yet you couldn't tell that they are like geniuses coming out of like whatever. And so, either way, I think it's such an important thing to understand that the person sitting across from you, their experience is just as rich as yours. Doesn't matter how many years of experience.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. I think another thing that I've noticed is this curiosity. And so I think that's a big one that we like to see in our engineers. What else are you doing? You know, work is great, but we want to see passion. We want to see you lean in and build things that you're excited about. And hopefully that passion can translate to our business.
What does that look like? So when you're in the early stages of trying to identify talent and for somebody to showcase themselves, how can you tell if somebody's passionate? How can you tell if somebody's driven about the things that they do? And
Yeah. I think this is also one where it's demonstrated, right? You look at repositories like GitHub, and you see that they're consistently, working on these small projects because they're interested in it. They actually have a side project or a side business that they're looking to build. They have this platform. They hacked it together because they're super excited about the prospect of scaling. Those are the things that we love to hear, right? There's also maybe some signals that you get from body language and things like that. If somebody is super excited about the work that they've done, it's palpable. And so sometimes that translates too.
Do you have anything? And now I know you don't do every single interview in the interview process, and maybe you don't meet every single person all the time, but do you have anything? We did a podcast not that long ago, and fun question is, do you have any break it questions? Not make it questions. Obviously, to make it with you, it's humility. You mentioned some foundational principles of humility, purpose, curiosity, passion, etc. Do you have anything that you're like, yeah, if they do this, I'm out? Like this is a absolute no for you or the Verse team, maybe something that your whole team has talked about over at Verse.
Totally. Any semblance of disrespect, that's baseline, right? I think as people, we have to respect one another and understand each other's, or do our best to understand each other's positions. Let's say if on a phone call, folks are talking super poorly about their past employer. Oh my gosh, my past manager, he was the absolute worst, so on and so forth. There are better ways to present that, right? And better ways to frame and think about things too, and in a more respectful way. There are other times too where candidates will maybe not show up to interviews, and there's no follow-up either. If there is a follow-up, totally understood. Like, hey, something happened, whatever it might be. But the other one, not too excited about that.
Yeah. Have you had anyone attack you because you were 2 minutes late to an interview or anything like that? Because that's happened to me, and I was shocked because I was there and we were just on the wrong Zoom or whatever, Google Meets or whatever it was. And the email I got was, you wasted my time. And I was like, oh my gosh, like maybe just an ounce of let's find some understanding first. That was a quick no for me. I was like, appreciate the email. Have a good day. Like, wow, that was incredibly disrespectful.
yeah, I've had somebody that literally went as far as to say, we're going to show up late to every single interview by anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes just to see what their reaction was about me being late and seeing, do they have an ego around that? And so I spoke to somebody that was their interview. They would show up deliberately every single time, 3 to 5 minutes late, just to temperature check what their attitude is like. Do you guys have any sort of interviews like that where it's like, we literally have like these little Easter eggs throughout the interview process that allows us to identify warning signals?
I think it's so interesting, and I think it's so creative. We don't necessarily have anything like that. I mean, we're asking a lot of questions that are rooted in hopefully some of the experiences that they've had, and they can actually draw upon like real things and examples. But yeah, I have seen things like that. I mean, even at Google way back when, they used to have something called the GCA questions, or the GCA interview, general cognitive ability. At a certain point, I think people realized that it had absolutely nothing to do with how well you were going to do there. Um, but they still
Explain that
asked.
a little bit.
Oh,
Help us understand what that means.
yeah. So I'm not sure if you've heard about those brain teaser type questions. How many ping pong balls can you fit in a bus? I'm not sure if you watched the internship
Yeah,
with.
yeah. Like if you were the size of like whatever and you were in a blender, like how it like, yeah, yeah. I actually love the
How many
internship.
ping pong balls do fit in a bus? I don't know. A billion? But this is going to get derailed real fast. All right, so go back. So Google's GCA interview. So tell us more about it. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think ultimately it kind of became a signal of how you could keep your cool and frame things while in a stressful situation, right? One of my interviewers, they asked me, if you were tasked with, planning out exactly where to put all the gas stations in London, what would you do? And I think the idea here is that one, they want to see the reaction, but also two, like, how are you thinking through this? And can you, again, keep your cool and frame things and ask the right questions and, problem solve? Um, I don't think I got close to an answer there, but it was certainly a fun one to walk through with them.
You're like, yes, as a recruiter, I will be tasked with public utilities, like or gas stations.
So how big is Verse Medical? Like, are you guys in that, you said, hey, hopefully in a year, maybe we're double. How big is it currently?
So we're about 130 people today.
Okay. So you'll be like 2,000, 3,000 next year, something like that. So no, just kidding.
Exactly.
So you're growing pretty significantly. So you have 130 people. So when you bring on someone now, that each person you bring on represents, we'll just call it roughly 1% of the impact on the company to kind of balance that versus a Google. Google brings on one person and they make up 0.001% impact, right? Or maybe I'm missing a zero in there. How does that affect how you make decisions and look at each person that comes into your organization?
Yeah, this is such an important question. And I think about this a lot, and I really think it's about company stage, company maturity and development. But you're absolutely right. If you have 100-person company, each person is arguably responsible for at least 1% of impact, right? And hopefully potential outcome. Obviously, that's a very, very gross oversimplification of things, but I think directionally it shows how much more they are responsible for and how much more their decisions actually will shape the trajectory of a company. And so when I'm thinking about hiring at startups versus, let's say, a 100,000-person company, I really think that the idea of will or culture add or fit is a lot more important than the hard skill. I am 100% going to bet on the person who has the grit, who has the hunger, curiosity to do more and learn more than the person who is the best coder in the world. Like, and just kind of sits in the corner and, clocks in, clocks out. We're building a culture here. We're not just building a product. We're building a company, and teams need to come together to actually make that happen. Yeah, I think that fit piece is more important
I'd be
nowadays.
curious as to like how has your mindset changed even in the current seat that you're in as a recruiter between where you're at now working with startups versus when you worked at bigger organizations? Because I have to imagine there was a massive mindset shift there, and I believe that there are people all over the world that like they work at big companies, they work at small companies, they work at something in between, but they don't necessarily understand how like the culture of things does change their day-to-day operations. And some people, they just get really confused about it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I guess when I was at larger companies, the more often than not, the question that I would ask is, can this person do the job well? If they can do the job well, then we should hire them because they'll keep doing the things that we've defined for them. With startups, I think the hard piece is that a lot of these things are not defined. And so as you're looking for somebody, you're not just looking for these hard skill sets, but the thing or the attributes that hopefully will signal to us that they can pick up new ones too. So I would say that that's the main thing. That was the major shift, that the idea of can they do the job turned to more of can they do the job well at this company at this period of time in their life stage because of the requirements of the job, right?
Yeah.
A lot more
Well,
nuanced.
well, we see that even with clients, right? We have clients that are publicly traded, and then we have clients that are all the way to, I mean, I guess technically we've worked with some founding teams, right? We've built founding teams, but your Series A, Series B, Series C versus your publicly traded and 50,000 employees. And when we do intake and we bring on those clients with a company that's got 100 people, we do need to really truly understand their mission, where they want to be in 5 or 10 years. And we're looking for people that want the ability and understanding that I don't stay in one singular lane for the next 10 years and just develop this tiny little piece of a tiny little product on some much bigger landscape, but rather they're part of a team that's going to potentially be 2,000 people in a couple of years, and they are the building block, and they might be today programming in this area, and tomorrow they might be cleaning out the trash. Like they're doing every little component of being a part of it, and that culture of being in a startup versus being in a really well-established 15-year-old company that's publicly traded or what have your massive 2,000, 10,000, 50,000 employee company. So it changes even how we recruit for those companies too, because we need to understand their mission and their cultural fit too.
Right
That's
on.
awesome. So what would you say when you think of, this is your chance to kind of plug Verse Medical, and I'm an engineer, or I'm I'm a dev, or maybe I'm a recruiter. You said you're looking for a technical recruiter. How do you describe the culture to me to make me go, oh my gosh, Verse is the place I want to go?
Yeah. Depends on the person, but I think the person who's going to be excited here is the one that hates fires, but is going to get so bored if there are no fires around because there's nothing to put out. It's not that this is a super chaotic environment, but there are just things that we don't know. We're operating in a space that hasn't been really touched before. We're also building technologies that are at the cutting edge today. If we're talking about AI, there's still so much more that needs to be developed. And we're even developing our own models as well, right? And so if you're a technical candidate, then I think that there are a lot of interesting technical challenges that we're experiencing, not just from like we have to build this platform standpoint, but also how do we imbue things like compliance and regulatory requirements, HIPAA, all of that into our products itself. For operations folks, for people in recruiting, I mean, we're building something from the ground up. Thankfully, we're well resourced. We talked about raises, and thankfully, again, we're at the point of scale. But we're kind of marching and pioneering into the Wild West, but instead of a horse and buggy, we have a nice Chevy, right? And so thankfully, we have some air conditioning, and hopefully we're going to have some smoother sailings that way.
That's
And
awesome.
so we have the right resourcing to actually build something incredible and generational. And if that's something that you want to do, we have that for you. Never mind the fact that it is going to impact a space that it just needs to be impacted and fixed.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned AI, so this will be kind of fun. We'll kind of head towards the end because you've given us a lot of your time.
Hopefully not the end, but maybe the end.
Well, yeah, no, I meant the end of the podcast, not the end. But that was the question: is AI going to kill us? Is AI going to be the end of us?
Oh, like Skynet? Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
I certainly hope not. But I mean, you never know. All this science fiction stuff is kind of crazy, and I don't think it's going to kill us. What I do think is that it's just really going to change the way that we operate. I mean, it's I think going to be very similar, like similar to the way that the internet made things a lot more mobile, right? People could now operate not in the office; they could operate at home, communicate, and still get things done. In the same way, I think AI is just going to be another thing that changes the way that people work. Perhaps it'll change jobs as well. But I don't think it's going to kill us.
Is it going to end us, Shane?
I don't know. I'm still waiting for Google to come out with its contact lens, where we can actually just operate and see the world in an augmented way. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and
I'm
then
not,
once
I'm
you
not
put,
excited for the Black Mirror episode type of stuff. I don't want to rewind the past. That
well, that's what's going to happen is you're going to put in the contact lens, and once AI decides we're no longer helpful, it'll just melt all of our brains from our eyeballs.
I mean, Facebook already started it with those Ray-Ban glasses, right?
Yeah, I've
Soon
seen them and I've used them, and they're pretty cool.
So you're hearing it here. Facebook will end the world.
That's
Got
right.
it. Okay. So we heard it here on this podcast.
Musk is going to be glad that's who
It was Facebook and it was not Google that ended all of us.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a fun again, it's one of those topics that you could talk for like an hour, and I don't have the answer. Certainly, I'd like to think I don't. I hope I don't. It's this idea of like when you start listening to some experts in the space and you're like, I guess it makes sense when they're like, well, if AI is so smart that it can make their own experiments and create their own physics and their own energy source, will they just melt us all as humans, or Skynet, robot in, or the drones will come and kill us all like Black Mirror? Like, no, that's not good, because I am not well positioned. I am too big of a target.
Well, we're trying to ask the theology major this. Like,
Facebook is Antichrist. Got it.
Oh man. Well,
I can't wait for the transcript of this.
I mean, the whole like AGI thing is crazy, right? The artificial generative intelligence, like maybe it'll actually happen. And I mean, I don't know. I've heard that it's actually right around the corner. But I think the reality
that's the scary part is now here's another question. Let me go in the complete opposite, because this is one I've thought, actually, truthfully, I've thought a decent amount about. So you mentioned the internet. Wow, look at how much better we are and faster. And we can, I can send you an email. I can send you the link to this recording in like 3 minutes. You'll have this whole recording sent to you. I don't have to take it on a big tape and put it in the mail and, Pony Express it over to where you are in New York and all that stuff. So isn't that amazing? But are we is there truth that are we better than we were in 1984? And then with AI, are we going to, as you mentioned, it's going to change jobs and we're going to be more efficient and faster and everything else. But are we going to be any better in 2045 than we were in 1945? Like, does it really, it changes what we do, but does it actually improve what we do?
It's a really good question. And I think the rise of all of these mental health tech and healthcare companies is a very strong signal, right? I'm not sure if you've read this book, but there's one called The Anxious Generation. It's
Anxious Generation.
Yeah.
Oh, right, I'm writing that down.
Where they're talking about like suicides being the highest that they've ever been, specifically because their information is coming at them too fast. Information is too accessible. And we all know that the moment you look at a symptom when we go to Google, it's always cancer. So I don't know if AI is going to fix that, or if it's just going to be like the world is coming to an end, and it does tell you that every single time. I was just like, oh, I got cancer. Nope, I just have a gluten problem. I just got to stop eating bread. Like it was a gluten problem. It wasn't cancer, Taylor. It was
the anxious generation. So I think you were about to say no. The technology it's helpful, but it also it has this drawback to it too, right?
Of course, it's a double-edged sword, like any other technology. Like you can use it for good, and then you can use it to hurt. My hope is that you can and will be able to use AI for things like potentially therapy, right? Like even when you're talking through a therapist, like sometimes you feel uncomfortable saying certain things. Perhaps to a bot, you're not going to be as self-conscious, right? And so maybe it can help with things like that, hopefully. Rather than, those weird news reports that you hear about, AI encouraging somebody to like commit suicide and things like that. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, it also makes me think about the things like there's keyboard warriors, right? So like one of the things that came out too is like when Reddit started coming out, it started to encourage people to share their feelings when normally in their day-to-day lives, you'll see somebody walking around and they're like the nicest person on the planet. And you open up their Reddit page and you're like, this is probably the most mean person I've ever met in my entire life. And so I'm curious, even with things like AI therapy, it's just like, is that going to help or is that going to make things worse? Because like, I think that I think sometimes a little bit of fear and a little bit of relationship and caring and feeling that you like someone or there is somebody in front of you, it changes your perspective on how you deal with things. And that I actually have talked to a couple of people that have talked about AI therapy being beneficial, but I think that it detaches, it starts to create a detachment of like basic human fundamental nature, and it starts making people think about they can say anything that they want, and saying anything that you want to somebody is kind of scary.
Agreed. Absolutely. Now, I have to imagine that a lot of people thought through this, and then on top of that, thought past it, even to the point of like the singularity, right? Like we're
Mhm.
going to upload our minds into the internet, right? And be singular with AI. Like things
Altered
like
Carbon.
that people have thought of. It's
One of my
great.
favorite TV shows of all time is Altered Carbon, where their minds are literally uploaded into a disc, and they like bodies or sleeves, and I think that is awesome. People live for 100 years. Maybe
I
it should say
Yeah, I
1,000.
mean,
I
I
love
think The
Altered Carbon.
Matrix is going to age very well. I'm just saying. I do. I think that movie in like 80 years, they're going to be like, oh, they could tell the future. We are in the Matrix. I don't know.
We might be in it right now.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. We are just pawns in this. And yeah. So for our theology major who just told us that AI is not going to kill us, and we need to go back to 1945 because we're better off. No, I'm kidding. I think it's interesting that the three of us just solved most of the world's problems, which is good.
I agree.
Didn't expect that in this 30 minutes. So last but not least, fun one. He mentions Altered Carbon is what he's been watching. What are you watching right now? What's your Netflix binge kind of, what's on the docket for you?
All right. So my wife and I, we watch our shows together. Right
Yeah.
now, it's the Great British Baking Show. It is, man, the perfect sleep show. You put that on,
I
you
was
have
going
some
to say, I thought you were going to drop a major bomb and you're like, the Great British Baking Show. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's
I wish I
probably.
had something for you, but not too exciting.
Have you watched Black Rabbit?
I haven't watched that. What's that? Black Rabbit?
Well, yeah, I just finished it last night. It's intense. It's very stressful. I'm like glad it's done. It was really good, but I'm glad it's done because every night, because my wife and I will watch a show every night, and like
On the edge of your seat.
you're very stressed out the whole time. You're like, whoa, who does this? But
Sounds like
it was really good.
nighttime
It's
show.
new. It's new. It's on Netflix. Jude Law, Jason Bateman. It's actually really good.
Got it.
So that was my most recent, and now I've got to find something else to watch because that one's done.
I'll let you know if I find something good.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to tune into the Great British Baking Show. Just being
Well,
honest.
he said it'll help improve your sleep.
I guess
so.
I guess so. Well, Peter, how can all the guests, if they're looking for a job as you guys are going through growth, or maybe it is a payer or someone who wants to get in touch with Verse and find out more what you guys are doing, how can they get in touch with either you or with Verse and their and the team over there?
Yeah. So our site, of course, is a quick place to go to contact us. So versemedical.com. We also have our LinkedIn page that you can go to, and on our ends, feel free to reach out to us directly. So I'm just Peter O at versemedical.com.
Okay, perfect. So anyone who's listening who's like, wow, that sounds awesome. I love their culture. I want to be a part of the mission. I want to be a missionary with Verse Medical. Reach out to either Peter or go to versemedical.com. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. This was a ton of fun. For everyone listening, download, comment, share your thoughts on AI, Skynet, and the Great British Baking Show. So anywhere on the page, make sure you guys send your comments and we will respond. So thanks again, Peter. To everyone else, have an awesome day. Goodbye.